Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Professor.
Morning, everybody. Morning. If you guys could put on your cameras for the librarian for a little bit, just to say hello. Ah, there's Elizabeth. Hi. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
I always forget. I'm just going to change my name here because this is the generic
Okay.
library name.
Okay, I've got to give you sharing.
Okay.
I will give you the host. Right. I'll make you co-host that way.
Right. That'd be great. Thank
Okay.
you. So are we, everyone here?
Oh, no. We're less than half. They'll all be coming on, not to worry.
Okay.
They know today's an important day.
I'm just going to turn on my light because it's a little dark in here. Be right back.
Okay. If you guys wouldn't mind turning on your cameras just to say hello to Elizabeth, who's our librarian. Then when she takes over, you can turn off and. Anthony, where are you that you're wearing a mask?
The doctor's office.
Doctor's office. Look at that commitment. Look at that commitment. He's at the doctor and he's logging in. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Are you
I'm
sick?
here with my girlfriend.
Okay. Well, thank you for logging in.
Of course.
There are
Morning,
conveniences
everybody.
with remote.
Everybody's joining. We got a few more to go. If you don't mind putting on your camera for a little bit while we meet Elizabeth, our librarian. And then when she starts teaching you, you guys can turn it off. A few
Nice
more.
seeing
We wait
all
a
of
couple of
you.
seconds. Excuse me?
I said it's nice seeing all of them, seeing all of the students.
It is. It's very nice. I like this class. They come on.
Mhm.
And we interact. So we have about 18 out of 25. So we'll keep going, wait a little bit to
Okay.
get a few more. I usually have about 23 out of 25. So, and today I told them today's important. Very, 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 very important. Hi guys, everybody who's just joining us, if you can put on your camera because we have our librarian with us. And then when she starts to teach us about going on the site, you can turn it off then. Charles, did everything work out on the computer and stuff? It's all good?
I have to contact them today.
Okay. Yeah, it works up until the 4th week, and then the 4th week you got to input the code to take the quizzes. That's the way it works. All right, 21 peeps. Wait one more minute and then get going. If you're just joining us, if you can put on your camera so we can all say hello to our librarian. Reagan's wearing a very fuzzy sweatshirt.
Supposed to start warming up. Rah.
Yes, we got sun. That's always a good thing. Nope, we just lost somebody.
Connections. I've been having sporadic internet problems. I don't know what's up with Optimum.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Yeah, no.
Today.
Not today, but last Thursday night and a week ago Friday. It was just out. It's just out. And they tell you to go look on their website. So on my phone, I'm trying to look on the website to
Hey.
find out what's going on. And they just say there are sporadic outages, no explanation how long it's going to last.
Well, my parents live in Edison. I'm in Metuchen, but my parents did lose it that Thursday and Friday, and they said it was going to be on at 3, and then they changed it to Friday. So they just
I
do
live
it
in Metuchen as well. So-
not my part of Metuchen. I did hear Metuchen had parts out, but
Yes,
Thank
my friends who live a little further north had it out for almost 14 hours. I was lucky in that it was only out for about 2.5 or 3 hours.
it's so
The
frustrating.
outage-
It's crazy.
The outage on the Friday was at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't get back until about 8 or 9 in the evening. So I
That's
don't know
crazy.
what's going on. Yeah.
Crazy, crazy.
Yep.
Okay, guys, week 5. So this is the beginning of the research project that I've been talking about since we started. And you did your assignments last week based on looking at research articles, which was the precursor to today. So in your assignment last week, you went to a specific site, you picked an article, and then you wrote information about it in your discussion post. That's the start of doing psychological research. So today is the first step in our research project, and we're so happy to have Elizabeth, our librarian, to join us today because she's going to help you learn how to get your article. So just a quick reminder, you guys are going to pick an article today and do that research worksheet that I showed you last week. I'll go over it when we're done here again. Then that's week 5. After this week, I've already opened up week 10, okay? Week 10 is for you to find a second research article. I suggest you doing a second research worksheet, though you don't hand it in to me today. I mean, you don't hand it in at all, actually. You just write a paper combining those 2 research worksheets. And then week 15, you're going to do a PowerPoint presentation about that new paper, which is 2 articles. But for the time being, we're going to work on 1 article. And Librarian Elizabeth, what would you like us to call you, Librarian Elizabeth?
Elizabeth's fine.
Okay.
Elizabeth's fine.
And,
Yeah, no, I don't go by professor. It's okay, and Elizabeth's fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn it over to Elizabeth now and mute. And then when Elizabeth is done showing you, we'll come back to me. We'll go and work through the research worksheet so you know how to do it, okay?
Okay.
Turning it to you.
So, welcome everyone. My name is Elizabeth Oliu, and I am a reference librarian at the college library. Normally we'd be doing this in the lobby of the library, and I'd be pointing out a few things, and then we'd be going to a computer lab. But obviously we can't do that today, so we're going to punt. We'll figure something else out. So what I'm going to do is initially, part of being a librarian is not just helping you find information, it's also to show you the landscape of information. And sometimes doing comparisons helps you understand what the differences are among different types of resources. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a resource, an online magazine. It used to be available in print. It's no longer in print. But what I want you to do is examine what I'm going to show you, and then come up with 1 or 2 words that help describe it. So, and then I will tell you what to do with those 2 words. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. And I just have to make this a little bigger because it's a few things are showing up here. Okay. So here is Rolling Stone. And I'm just going to make this go down a little bit so you can see it. And I'm just going to scroll down a little bit so you get a better idea what the web page looks like. So come up with 2 words that help you describe this. Suppose you had to describe it to someone who'd never known about Rolling Stone. What 2 words would come to mind when describing this website? Okay. What is it about? Right? How does it look to you? Think of a variety of things that that might help describe it. When you come up with those 2 words, I want you to type them into chat and send them, okay? Oops, did I stop sharing here? Sorry. So just 2 words.
Bryce gave you some. Jake, you got a few. Do you want me to read them to you, Elizabeth, or can you
No,
see?
I have it up. I can see it. Thanks. Okay. So we've gotten quite a few here, and I'm just gonna go review it, review what you've typed. So music and news, absolutely. Classic bands, absolutely. Current events, they do take an eye to what's going on in the world. Not a lot, but they do. Culture news, certainly. Pop culture, news and music, rock magazine, old school. I love that. Okay. It makes me feel old. Music news and history through music. So all of those things are correct. Who do you think the audience is? So type that in. Who do you think the audience for this is? People. Okay. Anybody else? Specific types of general public. Okay. Teens, maybe. Okay. Young adults. Nobody has any other suggestions? Obviously, you have to like music, right? Music fans. Thank you, Adrian. So music fans might be interested in this. And like most things in media, the demographic wants to be 18 to 35, right? That's the sweet spot for most media. Whether it be streaming video, whether it be things like this Rolling Stone, there's this magic age group that most media companies endeavor to grab. This is an old established magazine for music, but they have been trending to try and capture that market 18 to 35. So you did really well. Now I'm going to show you a different publication. Can you see this? The Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. Okay. So again, I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you get a sense of what is on the page. So this is actually the latest issue that they've published. That's what you're seeing in the center. And the same thing, come up with 2 words that help describe this. especially if you were to describe it to someone who'd never seen this website before. So come up with 2 words, and then I'll tell you when to type it into chat. Okay. If you want to compare it to the magazine, if that makes it easier, then do a comparison. Okay, type it into chat. Just gonna check to see how we're doing here. This seems a little more difficult. People are having a more difficult article time. Okay. And I'm just going to wait 1 more minute to see if we have some more. Okay, so this one was tough. It seemed to be tougher for you to scholarly articles. Okay, seemed to be tougher for people to come up with 2 words. Okay, so journal details. Well, yes, they do tell you a bit about the journal on the right-hand side, who the editors are, who the editorial board is. There's called an impact factor, and that's a formula that they use to decide how often that articles from that paper are actually appearing in other people's articles, how long they've been in business, and how many articles they've published. So it gives you a little bit of journal details, educational and informational. Well, yes, that's the purpose of a journal, is to report original research and a few other things. Interestingly informative. I'm so glad you think so, because you're going to be delving into this. And if you don't find it informative or interesting, that can be the death knell. Psych articles, philosophy, it can be philosophical in nature. Some articles maybe, but on the whole, they are psychology based, right? Because it is a psychology journal. So who do you think the audience is for this publication? And you can type that into the chat whenever you have it ready. Student, everyone? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're getting a couple of responses, right? Everyone. I'm sure the journal Personality and Social Psychology would love to know that everyone looks at their publication, psychology majors, students in psychology, and professors, doctors, scientists. Whenever you look at a journal, you're really looking at a way of communicating, and it is scholars communicating with other scholars, okay? So it is a form of communication. And in fact, when you look at the history of journals, it started out as letters that scientists wrote to one another. And eventually, because there were many more scientists that could write, and I'm talking about literally writing in with pen and ink, they ended up forming societies, and they would read the letters out loud. And because not everyone could attend, they started to print those letters. Over time, what has developed is this format for a journal article and the types of articles that get published. So it really is that conversation among people who are interested in the field, other scholars, and certainly students who are interested in the field of psychology may be required to, or may be interested in looking at it. So, so yes, so it's a much narrower population of individuals who might end up reading some of these articles. It is a way to keep up to date on what's happening in the field. So a lot of scholars, people who work at universities in particular, would be interested in finding out exactly what new information has been revealed in these journals. Okay, so you did really well. I'm happy. So with that, we need to find out how we find more of those types of articles in the field of psychology, because that's an important part of your assignment. So how do I find them? Well, there are a variety of ways to do it, but I will tell you that almost any library, academic library worth their salt, right, includes a database that's particular to the field of psychology. So how do I get to it? We're going to go to the library's homepage. And by the way, if you don't know how to get to the library, almost any page on the college's website, there's a link to the library up at the top. If you're at MyMCC, you can scroll down and there's a link to the library right there. I will be sending your professor some links, direct links. So you'll get a direct link to APA Psych Info, which is what we're going to be looking at, a direct link to the library's homepage, and a few other links that I think might be helpful. So here we are at this page, and you'll see it says search and find, and there it says databases, articles, and facts. So we really need to go to a database, click on that. And there are a variety of ways to get to a database that's specific to psychology. The easiest way is to just scroll down. Whoops, scroll down too much. And under research starter databases, it says other useful databases. And here's APA Psych Info. It used to be just plain vanilla Psych Info, but I think the American Psychological Association must have had self-esteem issues because they decided they had to put APA before it. So it's now called APA Psych Info. The other way that you can find it, if you don't look down far enough, is if you know the name of the database, you can just click on A and you will find it in the A list. You could also select psychology.
So guys, that's not a suggestion. That's the actual database that you are going to have to go to. So write down APA Psych Info in your notes.
So if I click on psychology, you'll notice best bets, and the first one up is this APA Psych Info. So that's the one that typically, for all psychology classes, if you end up taking a 200 level psych class, if you go on to a four-year college and you take psychology classes, almost universally, they will recommend that you do APA Psych Info, or they will assume that you know that's where you have to go, okay? So how do I get there? Well, because we're off campus, and by the way, these databases are not freely available on the web. The library pays for them on your behalf, or the state library pays for them on your behalf. So in order for you to use it, you have to identify yourself as a student or faculty member, if you're a faculty member. And because of some changes with IT, it's now a lot easier. You just use your regular MCC email login and password. So I'm just going to use mine. Whoops. Let me go in there. And I have to watch my typing because I am a miserable typist, even after all these years of doing nothing but type. Let me make sure I get, let's see if I typed it in properly. No, it didn't like my typing. Okay. Okay, what's going on here? Glory, hallelujah. Okay, so here's the initial screen to Psych Info. And before we even start to put in any words, we need
Yeah.
to set it up.
When I get it. Do you want me to
no,
interact for you?
I don't care. You can do whatever you want.
You have a question?
She said take it once.
I'm sorry, did you have a question? No, okay. So, so you need to set this up because the requirements of the assignment ask you to look at particular types of articles. So the advantage to using APA Psych Info is that allows you to manipulate what kinds of information you're going to be receiving. You can't do that in Google, not even in Google Scholar. There's not a way to limit it in ways that are meaningful. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you that APA Psych Info goes back to the 19th century. And for most of your topics, you're really not going to go back that far. So you want to put a date limit in. And usually it's about 10 years. I mean, you can change the date range to 5 years if you need to, or 3 years if you're finding an extraordinary amount of information. But for right now, we're going to do 10 years. So I'm going to do 2011, even though we don't have that much in 2021. Okay, so I do need to limit it by publication year. And then I have to look at publication type. And what the requirement is for a peer-reviewed journal. Have you covered peer review in class already? Yes. So can you tell me what peer review is, other than telling me that it's reviewed by peers?
It's like a way to like check your work and make sure it's correct as a reference to other scholars.
That's correct. Okay, so not every journal does that process, and I'm just gonna bring up a page that I have. Let's see if I can find my link here. I don't know if you can see this, the peer review process. Do you see this? No? No, okay, so let me
Yeah,
stop the
yeah.
share and then I'm going to share it again. So this is something that should be in your Canvas shell that was produced by the library to try and help people understand what the peer review process is. So it is, let me get this a little bigger. So it does start with a scientist, a scholar, having a question that they want answered and developing a strategy for finding that answer. And it's usually an experiment, right? If we're talking about the types of articles that you're going to be looking for. And so that process can take a year, it can take 5 years, it can take 10 years, it can take longer than that, depending on the type of experiment they're doing. Once they've accumulated results and they've looked at it and come up with a conclusion, then they write about it and they send it to a journal that would be interested in their type of topic. At that journal, there is an editorial process where they decide whether or not the article is a good fit for the journal, right? So if we were looking at the Journal of Psychology, of Personality and Social Psychology, I probably wouldn't be looking at things that have something to do with child development, okay, for example, because there are other journals that cover that more fully. So that editor decides whether or not it's a good fit. If it is, then they send it out to reviewers who are experts on the topic. And they will look at the article and decide whether or not the conclusions are supported by the data, whether or not there are issues with the experiment that aren't discussed. Oh, I see a cat walking through. Okay. Interested in psychology, I guess. So they will do a lot of feedback on that particular article. Now, understand that these reviewers don't get paid, right? They do this as part of their effort to improve their academic discipline. So they're not being paid. And sometimes it can take a while before the peer reviewers send back their comments. At that point, the editor can decide, well, the comments are show that the article is not really ready for publication, and they return it, and that article doesn't get published. Or they look at the comments, they send those comments to the author who has to edit their paper, and then resubmit it. It still can be rejected at that point. So there's a lot of steps in the process where that article could be rejected. For really seminal, important publications, the rejection rates are quite high, 90%. So there are some journals that 90% of the submissions get rejected only because they have a big standing in the field, and so they can be picky about what they add. Now, I will tell you that the peer review process has always been fraught with some problems. And so people have been trying to figure out if there is a better way to do this. But compared to other publications, there is no more strenuous effort to try and verify information. Okay, does that help with peer review? A little review of what we were doing. So when we're looking at Psych Info, the publication type allows you to limit it to a peer reviewed journal. You can see that all journals, right? So there is obviously some component of journals, as I said, that don't do that exact peer review process. The other thing that you want to do is, this is an international database. So articles get written in a lot of different languages. Click on English to make sure that you're only getting English language. I mean, you may be multilingual, that's wonderful, right? But if you find it in a language that you're fluent in, you will have to translate it. So you may want to cut to the chase and just go with the English language. There are lots of other ways to limit this, but the other thing that you're going to be limiting by is the methodology. So there's lots of different articles, as I alluded to, but the one that you're going to be using is an empirical study. So that means that the information in it is based on verifiable or observable experience, and that they're able to quantify in one way or another. And then they present the results of that study. There are other kinds of studies that are different, or there are other kinds of articles that are different. So at one point you may be asked to look at a review article where a scholar looks at what's been done on a particular topic, explains how the thought process has evolved, and what are the most important works that have helped inform that topic. So, but for right now, we're doing empirical study. Now, do any of you have a topic that you are considering for the assignment? If so, put it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to pick one.
Now's your time to get some help finding it. So good for you,
How
Hannah.
music affects depressed people. Okay, so riffing off Rolling Stone, right? So we'll do what's called a quick and dirty search, right? So I take keywords from my topic, And rather than depressed people, because adjectives don't always work, and when you're doing research in databases like this, what is the word for the mental health issue of depressed people? What is the noun?
Depression.
Depression. So that's what I'm going to type in, right? Because depressed people probably won't work that well. And one of the problems, or one of the challenges when you're looking at literature written by scholars for scholars, is they're using a different language than we use in day-to-day conversation, right? You're starting to learn that language. You're learning the language of psychology. So one of the things that you have to do is be very aware that the words you start off with may not be the words that psychologists use for a topic. So again, remember, we limited it by date, we limited it by peer-reviewed journals, we limited it by English, and we limited it by empirical study. And we're going to search. So what does the and do in my search? It's very prominent there. What does and do to my search results?
It makes it broader.
It would seem to be that, right? Because you and I make two people. But whenever we're talking about search, and I don't care if we're talking about Google or Bing or Yahoo or DuckDuckGo, all search at its core uses set theory. So if I type two words into Google, it automatically puts an and in between my words. And what it's saying is that I want the word music, but I only want it if the word depression appears as well. So that contracts my search results, because I'm not getting everything on music and everything on depression. I'm getting the intersection of where those two words appear. Now, Google changed their search algorithm a few years ago to what I called stupid search. When you type in two words into Google, they put an and in between. And then after a while, you start to see results where it crosses out one of the words that you typed in, and it says does not include, and it gives you that word that it's not included, or include that word. That's an or statement. I'm now saying music or depression. And what happens when I do that is I get garbage, right? I really get garbage, because I get anything about music, whether or not it has to do with depression, or I'm getting everything on depression that has nothing to do with music. So I'm getting 580 results, which are a lot. They're a lot. And I'm going to show you a couple of things that you can review. So if I look at the first one, listening to the blues, an ecological momentary assessment of music choice and depression. So that might, maybe the type of music we listen to is indicative of the mood or the way we feel, right? And so if we're depressed, maybe we like depressing music or somber music. If I click on that little magnifying glass, I get the beginnings of an abstract, which is a summary of the article. So without having to read the entire article, I get a sense of whether or not this article is really going to be something that I'm going to be interested in. Okay, it's not complete. That's why you have those three ellipses, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what's going on. Okay, so if I decide that that one's a good one, I can proceed if I want. The first one is not always the best one, and that's something that even in Google you have to recognize, that the first topic or the first thing that comes up is a function of the algorithm of the search. So why is this one showing up? Because music and the word depression appear in the title. They also appear in the subject heading. And it tends to favor more recent articles. Now the article link is, the date is not on here, but we'll find out in a moment. So I can look at that one. Why did depressed people prefer sad music? So that's saying it in slightly more common terms, right? Exercise with music, an innovative approach to increase cognition and reduce depression in institutionalized elderly. So now we're looking at an age group. And one of the ways that you can limit that 580 is to go down here and look at the age categories. And suppose I really only wanted to look at young adulthood, right? So that's your age group. So if I click most of your age groups, anyway, if you click on young adulthood, what will happen is it will only give you articles where young adults are part of the cohort that have been looked at in this examination. So does that mean only young adults are included? No. It just means that they're included in the grouping of the age groups that were involved in the study. So now I'm down to 227, and obviously the first one is different than the one I saw before. Improvement effective music appreciation on mental health of audience, okay? So again, if I click on the title, let's click on the title here, and I look at the complete abstract, I get an idea of what that article's about. And what do I do with it? Well, it says look for full text. It also says open access. So I can be pretty confident that when I click on look for full text, I will actually get a link to the article. And it didn't work. How do you like that? It's not working. Okay. Oh, there it goes. It seemed to have a little problem. So in this case, that article is available in a database, right? I can print this, I can email it to myself, I can do whatever I, email it. If I have a print option, I can download it as well. And from here, I also have the option of looking at a citation. I can cite it, looking for APA. So there's the citation. I can copy and paste this into a Word document if I want. You do have to look at it more closely because these are computer generated. So sometimes it doesn't come out quite correctly. In this case, it looks pretty good to me. Published in 2020. There's the title of the article, the name of the journal, volume and issue number, the page numbers. There's no DOI, which is interesting. I can email it to myself, but I need to change it to APA. So if I email it to myself, I'll get a link to this page so I can go look for the full text, but I will also get an APA citation that I might be able to, that I could use, okay? So let me go back here. I just want to look for another one. You can see that a lot of them say look for full text. And again, if it's open access, 99 times out of 100, you're going to get a complete article. Group rumination, social interactions around music and people with depression might be an interesting one. If I, again, click on look for full text, it will try to find that article in wherever it may be in a different database. If it says right from the start PDF HTML, you have that option right within the database. So there's the article. There's the abstract, there's the complete article that I can read. Now, I will tell you that there are techniques for reading journal articles. We are taught to read from start to finish, right? Start, go through the middle, go to the end. But sometimes reading a journal article strategically helps you. So one of the things that I suggest that you do is that you read the abstract a couple of times. Look up any words that you don't recognize or understand. Once you do that, go down to the conclusion, so the end of the article. So I'm ignoring everything else for right now, and I read the conclusion. So I find out what the authors have come up with based on their experiment. And again, I may have to read it once or twice, more than one time, because the terminology may be unfamiliar. I'm not sure exactly what they're saying. I may need to look up some terminology. So you may need to look at that. The ethics statement is important. It tells you whether or not there were any ethical complications. Were they getting money from a music company? Whatever. Is there anything that might alter your impression of the article? Once you've done the abstract and the conclusion, go back up to the introduction. Right? The introduction, where they spell out what's known about, they do a little literature review. So they tell you what they know about this topic, who's done work on this, and then why they've decided to do a study that may expand on what we already know. So it gives you sort of an idea of where this is going to go. Once you've read those 3 sections, then try reading it through. The part that stops most people are when the statistical analysis comes in. That usually halts people in their tracks, especially if you're not, if you haven't taken statistics courses or math gives you the hives, right? So one of the things that happens, though, is if you understand the other 3 sections, this starts to make a little more sense, okay? So I do recommend that you try to do it strategically. And again, you know, it's not always an easy read, but it is not an impossible read. It is not an impossible read. You just have to take the time to really understand it. That peer-reviewed PDF that I showed, that should be in your Canvas shell. On the back of it are questions that you can ask yourself, much like the worksheet that you got. Ask yourself questions. If you can answer the questions on that sheet or your peer-reviewed sheet, then you have a good understanding of what the article's about. If you can't answer the questions, you need to go back and reread some of those sections. By the way, if you click on look for full text and it says, sorry, we can't get it for you, sorry, there is no full text available, you have the option of requesting it. We will get you a copy of the article delivered to your email at no charge to you. At other institutions, they'll charge you $25 to $50 for that service. We don't charge you for that. Do request it, and you will get a response via email with a link to the article. We tell you to allow 1 to 5 days. Generally, the interlibrary loan librarian is very good, and usually within 48 hours, you have the article. We are reliant on other libraries to get us copies, so there is that little problem, but she's been very good at getting articles fairly quickly. Okay, so now you can see that our limits are already here. I'm going to erase the limit for age right here. I'm just going to click on it. Does somebody else have a topic they want me to run? The effect of placebo on depression and anxiety. Okay, so there is a thing called the placebo effect, but we're just going to put in placebo. We've already got depression. We can do an or statement if we want, saying I'll either take placebo with the word depression or the word anxiety, right? But we'll do it in another way as well. So I'm going to try that for the time being. And look at this, I'm getting 3,929 results. So something is up, right? And I'm not getting placebo in the subject area or in the title, which is a little bit concerning. So I'm gonna try. You can see when I start to type, there is a placebo effect. I'm going to try that with depression or anxiety. Okay, so we're getting a little bit better, right? Because placebo is now showing up in the title. It's showing up in the subject heading. We've got the word depressive symptoms in here, major depression in the subject area. What it's not is anxiety. Did you want it as an or did you want depression and anxiety?
It was either one. Like, it
Either
didn't
one.
really matter. Yeah.
Okay. You know, it's possible that there are articles that cover both, and we may see that as we go down the list. The same thing, I've got 790. It looks like we're not getting depression or anxiety in the subject heading. So one of the things that I might do is say that it has to be depression or anxiety have to be in the subject heading. We already know that depression is there, and I suspect anxiety is as well. So let's try that to limit this. Okay. So the results are actually a bit better, right? So utilizing placebos to leverage effects of cognitive behavioral therapy in patients with depression. Expectation-induced placebo effect on acute sadness in women with major depression, right? So I'm getting things that are a little bit more on target. Now, you don't want to select subject heading until you know, in fact, that at least one of the words is in the subject. We already knew that depression is in a subject heading, so I was confident that at least that topic would show up. One other way to find out how to limit is to use the major headings over here. So if I look here, if I wanted to narrow it further, I can see that anxiety is one as well, but there are only 35 articles, right, with anxiety as the major topic. Look at how many there are for major depression, 221. So if I look at some of these other topics, if I needed to limit it in some way, I could try limiting it by using one of these words. Or if I was having problems coming up with a word that was effective, I could go and see what my results were telling me about what the topics are within the article itself. Okay, so let's just look at this first one again. And again, I know with open access, I can be pretty well assured that when I click on look for full text, I'll get the copy of the article. And again, I can look at what the citation looks like in APA, or I can email it to myself. Just make sure that I change MLA to APA so that when I email it, I will get the APA citation, or at least a quasi-correct APA citation. And it doesn't matter where you email it. It doesn't have to be a college email. It can be your personal email. Whatever you do, I do recommend that you set up a folder for this class in whatever email that you use, because as you send yourself possibilities, you want to be able to dump it in that folder so that you have it when you need it, rather than trying to find it within the mess of emails that you probably have in your inbox. Okay. So when if I were to look at more than 2 articles and I put them in my reference list, what is the order that I need to put them in? So I have this article, right? And here's the citation. Juranek N and Shinley A, right? Utilizing placebos to leverage effects, etc. And then I go to my results list. And I decide the second one is also interesting. And I look at the citation there. Oops, APA, I need APA. And this one is Haas, JW, Reef, W, Glombieski, JA, Winkler, A, During, BK. So how do I decide which article goes first in my reference list? So at the end of whatever I've written, I produce a reference list. I've used 2 articles. How do I decide which one goes first?
Alphabetical?
Alphabetical by the last name of the author, right? So it's always alphabetical by the last name of the author. Why do we do that? There is a connection between what you're writing and the reference list. What is that connection? Guess I'm asking hard questions. Okay, so if I were writing something in APA style, if I quoted from the article, right? If I quoted from the article, I'd have to give credit to where I found it, right? And that credit includes the last names of the author. Why? Because as a reader, if I see a quotation or a paraphrase and I'm interested in that particular aspect, I can go to the reference list and with the name that has been given to me, either parenthetically or in text, I can actually find where that article is. So if I really wanted to read that article, I could go in and find that article for myself. Okay, so there is a connection between what I'm writing within the body of the essay or whatever it is I'm doing and how I create my reference list. Does that make it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, does anybody have any questions about this so far? I'll look and see if there's any in chat. Okay. Nobody has any questions. You're all good.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so remember that I will be sending your professor a link to share with you directly to Psych Info. You may have that already in your Canvas guide, but I will also send you some links that talk about APA style, how to cite things, and I will also show you how to get help. So I will be including my email address. You're more than welcome to email me if you have any questions, if you're having difficulty finding what you need, if you're not sure what words to use, any of those types of questions. If you need help with citation, I can certainly help you with that. You can email me. So I will be providing my email. The other thing I want to show you is that there's other ways to get help. And one of them is right in the database. You can see this chat. So you'll see an automatic response and they say they're going to get to you within a minute or 2. It says up to 5 minutes. Hello, class. Thanks for responding. So you can submit your submit your request through there if you're having an issue with database. So so that's right at hand. The other way that you can get help is to go back to the library's homepage. If I go, there it is. Go back to the library's homepage and you'll see Ask a Librarian. And I will provide you a link to this as well. So there's that chat again that you can use. You can email us. It's a generic email for reference librarians, and one of us will respond. You can text or phone, although that's limited hours. You can also make an appointment for one-on-one research. So that would usually be a Zoom session with a librarian where we go over whatever it is that you're having difficulty with, whether it be the research end of it to the reference list or the internal or parenthetical citation. We can help you with that as well. There are also, we're part of library services. So there is tutoring help for most classes. And if you're having difficulty with the written part of it, you do have to create a written document, but you can make an appointment with a writing tutor to help you with the writing part. Okay, any questions about this?
One question is what's the exact assignment gonna be about besides this, like
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You're all breaking up a little bit. Can you try it again?
what's the exact assignment gonna be about?
Any assignment? I'm sorry, you're still breaking up. Can
No,
you
the
write it
assignment.
in the chat? Can you write it in the chat?
Yeah.
It may be my internet problems.
So the assignment for this project, what is that gonna be?
The assignment for this project?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know when it's due. That you'll have to talk to your professor about. I'm not clear. It's usually,
The research worksheet is due by Saturday night. And when we're done with Elizabeth, I'll go to our week 5 of our Canvas and we'll go over what's due.
Oh, okay.
all right. So I'm done. I am going to exit, but I do want to assure you that I will be sending an email with everything I told you I was going to send you, and your professor can share it with you. And be assured that we are more than willing. The librarians love working with students. That's our primary purpose for being here. So don't think you're being a burden, or that whatever question you have, you find you're embarrassed about, or whatever. I've been a librarian longer than most of you have been alive, so I've heard everything. Nothing can shock me. So the only question that is stupid is the one you refuse to ask. Right? So ask the questions, right? If you don't know the answer, there's no shame in not knowing the answer. That's how you learn. Okay. So I thank you very much. Have a great day, and hopefully we can enjoy some warmer weather soon. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
really do
Take care.
appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right, guys. So that was to show you how to get your articles. So now let's go to my screen. All right, now let's go to week 5. So this is important. So this is the beginning. Remember I said to you guys that your quizzes and your study plans and all that information is a very small part. Your research project is the biggest part of your grade. This is the first part of the research project, and there's 3 parts. So I'm just going to move myself over here. Week 5 begins the research project. You are going, here's all the information she was talking about with handouts and articles and all that information. If she sends me stuff, I'll send it to you, but you might not need anything else because really everything is here in your Canvas, okay? So you're going to take a video quiz on the Psych info information, which she basically just showed you about how to get your article. Then you're going to take a quiz on how to read a scholarly article. And then the important piece is your article dissection worksheet. Now, you still have a journal article to do, but just the big thing that you're doing is this article dissection worksheet. You're going to find the article that she showed you how to find in the Psych info net, the website. Find an article that is something you're interested in, number 1, and is written for you to understand. Do not find a 60-page article. There's no need for that. Find something that you can read and you can understand. And then you're going to come to this worksheet. And the first part right here is that you're doing the citation, super important, in APA style. So remember I mentioned to you APA style, American Psychiatric Association style, is called hanging. So what that means is that there's a line and then the second and third and fourth lines are indented. That's what hanging is. Look it up. It's not that big of a deal. Just get it right. You lose points if you get the citation wrong. Then you write 4 to 6 sentences about the study. What's the person? Why did they do that? What question did they seek to answer? Only 4 to 6 sentences. Method, 4 to 6 sentences. Describe who participated in the study. What did the researchers ask the participants to do? Then the result, 4 to 6 sentences, not more. What did they find out? What question did they answer? What else is important? And again, remember, this is about them, not you. Not we did a study. You were not there. Discussion and so what factor is where you can write about your opinions of the article. What was a strength? What was a weakness? What would you have done? What are you more interested in? That's the information that you are putting your opinion on. All the rest is facts. You write the facts about the article. And that's what is due on Saturday at midnight. Okay, just this. You're not writing on other people's things. You're using this format for, it's called a research worksheet. Now, I don't want any old articles. An important piece is to do something from 2010 to present, because things are totally different from prior to 2010. So we want it to be topical. We want it to be what's going on now. Now's your time to ask questions about this.
Miss, do you want us to do 2 quizzes before this?
That will help you if you do watch the videos and take the quiz before you do it, because it's the information that's going to show you how to find the right article. So I really think that you do the videos for the APA, for the library, and then how to read the article. Then you start looking for your article based on the information that you just saw. Plus, you basically got all the information today. You find the article, and then you write the research worksheet.
All right, thanks.
Anybody else? Ask questions now.
I'm not sure if I'll remember all the steps for the project, like how to.
Boaz, I can't hear you. Can you get closer to your microphone, please?
I'm not sure. I don't think I'll remember all the steps on how to do the whole project.
You don't remember the steps to how to get through Psych InfoNet? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to learn all of that in the MCC Library APA Psych Info video quiz. It's going to be a repeat of all the information.
Oh, okay.
It will tell you how to do it. Most important things to remember is that you're using Psych Info. You're going to wheedle down your words so that it becomes very specific and not super broad. And you're going to make it from 2010 to today. Those are the important pieces. Questions?
I got a question about week 10.
Yep.
Right, that's the next. All right, so it's
Okay.
basically the same thing,
Wait,
right?
Adrian, let me just say, week 10 isn't open right now. Week 10 will open after this week, okay? Just so that's first. So after you guys are done with your article dissection worksheet, and I purposely didn't open it now because I want you to get my feedback on the worksheet before you look for your second article. After you have handed in this worksheet and I have graded it, I am going to write all kinds of information like this article is way too above your head and you need to pick a lesser article, you know, something like, or this is perfect, now try and find something else. We will talk about week 10 when we come back next Tuesday so that you guys can start thinking about it. But I don't want to burden you with week 10 yet, okay? Is that okay, Adrian?
Yeah, that's fine.
So after we get through this week, next week it will open and I will talk to you about what you're going to do for the next 5 weeks that to do in week 10, but I'll do it next Tuesday. Questions? Ask them questions.
When is the paper, the short paper due?
The paper is due week 10. The only thing that's due this week is this research worksheet. That's the only thing other than your journal articles, which you should be doing every single week based on the information. This is a research worksheet that is due this week. It's the same amount of work, even though you have to do a little bit more by going on to Psych InfoNet and finding the article. In terms of writing up, it's similar as last week. You answered these questions in last week's research, psychological research chapter. So it's only 4 to 6 questions about each.
For the paper, how long does that have to be?
Okay, well, I'm not going to answer that until next week.
Okay.
Next week, I will answer all of your questions about the paper. I don't want you stressing about the paper at all. You have 5 weeks to do it, and it's not hard. But I want you to concentrate on just doing this research worksheet. So I promise to talk about it next Tuesday. questions.
For the what was it, the dissection worksheet, it only shows 3 points for, that's
Yeah.
for 3 points.
It is only worth 3 points. Yes, but all the grades of the research worksheet, the paper, and the presentation all get grouped together for 35% of your grade. So
Oh.
if you want to think about it as only 3 points, think about 3 points being 100, 2 points being, I don't know, like a 75, let's just say, like, so 1 point off takes a lot off of you. So that's why it's so important to do well on it. And I'm telling you guys, the most points that get taken off on this research worksheet usually are a-okay in answering all the questions. People usually lose a point on the citation. It's the easiest way to not lose points. Make sure you use APA citation. That's where you end up losing points. Don't lose points. Do it right the first time, and then you'll get it right on the subsequent 2 parts, if you get it right this time. By the way, I have recorded the librarian. So let's say you didn't get all the information. I recorded the librarian. I will post it tonight, just like I always do for all of our lectures. So if you need to review the videotape of what she did with us, it will be on our week 5. Okay. Any other questions?
Negative.
Good. All right. Rocket, it's not hard. And it's, as I mentioned to you, no matter what intro to psych class you're going to, this is doing the same exact project. So everybody's doing the same thing for intro to psych. It's the research project. It has to be done for this class. So as much as I don't need to read all of these research worksheets and read all these papers, I must too. So we got to do what we got to do. All right. Everybody have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions. It's not hard. Do not stress this. Have a good one.
All right, have a good one.
Bye.
Professor, you mind sticking around for a little?
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Bye. Bye. What's up?
All right, remember I emailed you about the quiz?
Yep.
For some reason it said it had no preview, so the quiz wouldn't like load up.
But I opened it. I opened it back up and I gave you 2 more chances, and it was due last night.
Yeah, I know. So I did do the first attempt, but I obviously didn't get a good grade. So then I did the study plan. I was taking notes and everything. And that same night it was due the first time, it said no preview available. And then when you gave me the second chance, it said the same thing. So I don't know what that was about. But
I don't know, because on my end, what I do is I go into it and I open it back up for a date, and then I choose you, and I gave 2 more chances. Like it says there are 2 chances, so I made it 4 chances.
yeah, it didn't pop up like no questions or anything. It just said no preview. I can send you the picture of the screen.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is it's worth like that much of it's nothing. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal, and you did get some points, so that's good news. But send me a picture so that I can send it to the department and ask what the deal is, because I have no other way to open it. I put
Okay.
in ending dates and chances, and then outside of that, it's like in the system, so I don't even know.
Yeah. At first, the whole like Blumen and Waymaker and everything, it wouldn't load on Safari, remember? And then
Yes.
I tried Chrome, and Google Chrome was working. So
Yeah, Safari doesn't work at all. You saw, I don't know if you saw, but Crystal wrote back, sorry to be so late, but I think it was a Safari problem. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
She's a program coordinator.
okay.
But
All right. So
definitely Chrome.
all right. If it does happen again, I'll definitely be sure to let you know.
Yeah, I have no problem going in to help you out to like give it to you, but if it doesn't open, then I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to do because that's like beyond my level, my tech level.
All right. All right.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.